John Cruz here, professional bass angler with my trusty square bill rod by Cashion Fishing Rods. Cashion makes a ton of great models. They make all kind of different crankbait models, but for me personally, I wanted a rod made specifically for fishing square bill crankbaits, and this is exactly it. It's a 7-foot medium heavy parabolic action. And what that means is the rod bends throughout, because we're talking about square billed crankbaits here. This is a square bill crankbait. This has flat sides, but the square bill is a big wide front bill that has it runs 3 to 5 feet deep. That's what square bill crankbaits run. They're anywhere in size range from 3/8 ounce up to 5/8 ounce. Even the bigger square bill crankbaits do very well on the square bill crankbait rod, and then the smaller ones also, again, very good on the square bill crankbait rod. That's really what you're going to be looking for with the square bill crankbait rod. You can throw normal shallow running crankbaits and they do just fine. Most of the time, if I'm going to be throwing a Little John or something that small, in that 3/8 size or smaller, I'm going to go to one of the lighter action Cashion Elite cranking rods. And if I'm going to be fishing anything above that, this is the rod. It also throws, a wiggle wart or those type crankbaits, rock crawler from Spro, those type crankbaits. They've got a good thump and they need to get out there a good ways. Those crankbaits do very well on the square bill crankbait rod, but this is it, 7-foot medium heavy. It is a money maker for me. I catch a lot of fish on square bill crankbaits with that rod. And if you want to be able to boat flip 4-pounders, you need a rod that has enough power to do that. And this is the one to do it. It says on here that you're going to be throwing 10 to 20 pound test. That's a good range. Probably throw 14 pound on this rod more than anything. You can go up to 16, but you need to get more than that. You're really going to start impeding your action unless you've got one of those bigger bulbous, like the Russ Lane Fat Papa Spro, or Bagley Bossa B2, one of those real big bulbous baits. You can go up to that 18 or 20 pound test and have no problems. But if you wanted to with the smaller medium size square bill crankbaits, you want to stay in that 14, 12 maybe. 12 can probably get you more bites, but then again, you can't horse those fish and power them like you can with the heavier action, heavier line. So there it is, the Cashion rods, square bill crankbait rod. Bam.